Yeah, I think the Paris medals are the coolest I've ever seen. Like having a piece of the
They are
Eiffel Tower
very
on the medal,
cool.
it's amazing.
Yeah. They're quite different in regards to like the shape of them as well. Like it because the Tokyo one sits flat, whereas this one, um, when you sit it on something else, it doesn't sit flat because of the, I want to call it like concave like cut
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, they are very unique, very, very different. So the ribbon sucks though. I've already had to sew it up because it was ripping. So
That's not the
yeah,
important part,
that's
though,
not
way.
ideal.
You could just
No,
have like number eight
just
wire, the medals. Yeah,
yeah, just keep this bit clean and we're
yeah.
okay and not chipped.
Double Olympic gold medalist, Commonwealth Games gold and bronze medalist, first female player to win back-to-back World Rugby Sevens Player of the Year titles, holds the record for most tries in a single fixture, absolute force within the sevens world, and queen of the Mana Wave, Michaela Blyde. Thanks for chatting. How's that for? Oh,
Queen
yeah.
of the Manaweb. I'll take that actually. I haven't heard that one, so I will claim that. But yes, I'm very good. Thank you, Marcus. How are you?
Yeah, fantastic. I've just got to say, it was such a delight watching you and your team win another gold medal. I feel like there's a huge amount of national pride in New Zealand for your team. But firstly, I mean, it's such a cliche question, but you are a back-to-back Olympic gold medalist. Can you describe how that feels?
Um, no. And to be honest, it doesn't feel like we've gone back to back. I think because when I think of back to back, I think of like year after year. Whereas this is obviously 3 years apart. We had a different team um, at the Olympic Games compared to Tokyo, different management. So it kind of felt like a fresh start anyway. Um, so when I get told that, or when I get approached as back-to-back Olympic gold medalist, like it does sound a little bit funny to me still at the moment, but nonetheless, like extremely proud. Definitely, um, when it comes to looking back to little Michaela Blyde, if I told her that she was going to be a back-to-back Olympic gold medalist, she probably would have laughed, then cried. So, yeah, it feels very special to have done that for Aotearoa.
That's actually exactly where I wanted to go. I wanted to go back to your childhood and back to the 12, 13-year-old Michaela on a dairy farm in the Naki, like practicing her goosies, or were you practicing your goosies? What were your dreams when you were a little kid? Was it Black Ferns? Was it the Olympics? Was it some other sporting endeavor? Yeah, what were you thinking when you were a kid?
Yeah, so I ventured in athletics, soccer. I played touch, basketball, believe it or not, even though I'm the shortest basketballer ever. I was just that kid that really enjoyed giving every sport a go. I even played netball for a year, but I was far too aggressive for that sport. Um, and so I guess as a kid growing up, like I just really loved being active. I loved sport, and I always pictured myself playing sport for my country. That was just the ultimate for me. Even as a young 5 year old, like I just wanted to represent New Zealand in sport. I guess with New Zealand, like we are a very proud sporting nation. And so to be a part of that very small group of people that have represented New Zealand in sport makes me very proud. Wasn't really a thing for rugby. Like rugby's been a part of my family for decades. And my parents played, my grandparents played, and so rugby's always been a part of the family, but it wasn't really a part of my dream initially. Obviously, my mum played for the Black Ferns, so I wanted to be like her and represent New Zealand in sport. But the initial dream of Black Ferns didn't come until later. And so when the Sevens campaign started in 2012 for the preparation for the Rio 2016 Games, that was where the dream for potentially participating at the Olympic Games for Blackfern Sevens came alive. And so I just stuck to it. I loved the game. I loved the sport. So it was just about learning the game as fast as I possibly could, and in hopes of going to the Olympic Games. So yeah, it was just a matter of time and picking which sport suited me and my personality best.
Do you feel like your mum's experience playing rugby for New Zealand helped you in your professional career?
Um, her time of being in the Black Ferns was completely different to what it is now, obviously. It wasn't professional. Back then, it was definitely a lot more social. Um, she was in the first official Black Ferns team that I guess didn't have to pay any fees, and they got to keep their jersey. And I don't think they had to really contribute much funds to the team to be able to go and play this one game against Auckland. So it was completely different. But Mum always talks about like the camaraderie of rugby and the community like feeling about playing rugby because everyone can play it, and everyone comes together and just loves the game and is on the sidelines yelling at the ref. But at least it's just a real community like environment at every rugby game. And so she always talked about that. But when it came to the training and to knuckling down and wanting to be a professional athlete, she definitely was someone who pushed me a lot to be better, whether it was with my training, my recovery, my eating, or whatever. So, yeah, she was definitely someone that was in my corner and supporting me, but also pushing me to be a better athlete. So, yeah, she was a massive impact in my preparation of becoming a professional athlete.
Awesome. So correct me if I'm wrong. I think from what I've read, your first experience of the Olympics was in Rio as a traveling reserve. Is that right?
That's right.
And
Yeah.
so being a traveling reserve meant staying outside the village and being part of the team, but sort of on the fringes. Can you talk me through how that felt and how that experience was in Rio?
Yeah, it was difficult. To be honest, when I first found out that I was going to be a traveling reserve, the first 30 seconds was happiness, because I realized that I was going to go to Rio, and not be at home. But then after that, emotion ran out. It was tears of disappointment. I was 20. I was still very young and I guess very immature in regards to my rugby ability. I still had a lot to learn about the game and grow a lot more confidence. And so going to Rio, the energy's different when you're traveling reserve. You're there, but you're not considered an Olympian. You are literally just put to the side and you're brought in if you're needed. So it was a very weird emotion being there, but I look back now and I know 100% that I was not ready to be an Olympian. And I just know for a fact that mentally I would have crumbled. I wasn't ready to be on that kind of big stage and to perform in an Olympic Games. So it was a blessing in disguise, but at the time it didn't feel like it, but now it definitely was. It is a very weird feeling. We didn't stay in the village. We were only allowed in the village from a certain time of the day. We had to be out of the village by like 9 p.m. or something every night. Our apartments were like a 400-meter walk down the road. So it was close and we could see the village from our window. So it was really sad. We'd like watch out from the window and be like, we could be there, but we're not. So yeah, it was a very weird emotion. But on the other side of it, it really ignited the fire in my belly to not want to be in that position ever again. So if I wasn't traveling reserve, I don't know where I could have gone with my rugby. So I'm glad I was because I came home so much more hungrier to be a better rugby player.
That's a great response to it, and I can actually understand almost exactly what you went through because at this recent Olympics, I missed out by 2 spots to get into the tennis draw and was staying in a hotel about 400 meters outside the village, looking out over the village and watching all of my colleagues go and compete and stuff. So I know exactly how you feel there. Um,
Yeah, it's very hard.
yeah. So it's an amazing response to get hungrier after something like that. What was it that you had to improve, or you mentioned that you didn't feel like you were ready and you thought you would have crumbled on such a stage as the Olympics. What had to change, or what did change between then and Tokyo to make you feel comfortable or feel like you were ready?
I came home from Rio. I had about a week off and then I went and played more rugby. Um, from 2012 to 2016, I didn't play a lot of rugby because I wasn't selected. And so by being more involved in the game as much as I possibly could meant that I could grow the confidence mentally to blossom into the rugby player that I wanted to be. There was a lot of mental strengthening that I had to do. I was a very nervous player. Like I would cry before every game because I was so nervous to represent my country. But after Rio, Alan Bunting, sorry, he's now the coach for the Black Ferns. He saw something in me that I didn't quite see, and so he gave me that opportunity after Rio by selecting me more, starting me as a winger, so ahead of Portia essentially, because he saw what I could contribute to the team. I just needed the opportunity to do that, and so he was a massive impact for my growth after Rio. And I guess with more game time, with more self talk of being confident within myself, I was able to, I guess, showcase my strength being speed and power. And so the more I told myself I could do it, the more I actually showed it on the rugby field. And so after Rio, I think it would have been 13, 14 months later, was when I won World Rugby Sevens Player of the Year for the first time. And it is very unheard of for someone to not be an Olympian or be a travelling reserve or not be selected to suddenly be recognised of that stature. So it was overwhelming, but for me, it was my ticket to continue growing and to continue showing what I could do on the rugby field. But it took a lot of work off it as well. I trained
Mm.
so hard with Corey Sweeney and Kelly Brazier after Rio. I got Kelly to do fitness with me all the time. I got Corey just to absolutely knuckle down on my skill sets, my catch and pass, my tackle, my breakdown work. And so, with a lot of work and behind the scenes, I was able to become this confident rugby player that I am now.
Amazing. And you talk about mental strengthening. Was that doing work with a sports psych? Was that like drilling down into the reasons for the nerves or drilling down into the nerves themselves and doing that sort of stuff as well as the rugby work?
Yeah, definitely. We've had many mental psychs in our team over the last 12 years. But it also is a lot of individual work that you've got to put through yourself. I would say it took about 8 years for me to perfect my mental process going into a tournament. It's not something that you just perfect straight away. It takes a lot of time and patience and experience to really concrete a process that gets you in a place that you can absolutely um, blossom, I guess you could say. I now go onto a rugby field nervous, but good nerves because I want to play well, but with a type of energy where I just really want to play well and I want to show off and I want to represent my country with pride. Um, so yeah, it is a lot of individual, but a lot of work as well with the mental psychs who, you know, writes down what works, what doesn't works, what gets you in your happy place, what gets you in your angry place. So it is a lot of work in behind the scenes. But you're training your brain to tell yourself that you're the best in the world is very, very difficult. Because not only do you have to tell yourself, but you have to believe it as well for you to be able to actually show it on the rugby field.
Yeah. I think I've had this. Well, I think everyone deals with nerves, right? Every athlete who plays anything high stakes, especially representing your country. The most interesting experience I've had with nerves was when I started not feeling them. And it was then that I knew that I was burnt out and I needed a break. Because for me, nerves at their most basic are a sign that you really care. And there's something really
Definitely.
beautiful about that, right? So for me,
Yeah.
like it was really interesting. Like not feeling the nerves was actually more terrifying than feeling really big nerves. Um, but yeah, kudos to you for going through it and doing the work to sort of get out the other side because I know that I've experienced crippling nerves and it really is terrifying. And
I actually
talking
was
of
saying
nerves,
to
oh sorry.
Corey, sorry to interrupt, I was saying to Corey in the middle of the season, because after every trial game for a World Series tournament, we have a meeting with the coaches, and you obviously either get told yes or no. And it was this one particular trial, and I didn't really trial the best that I could, for other reasons. But I went into the room with Corey, and he told me that I'd made the World Series. I can't remember which team it was for. It might have been Hong Kong or Singapore. And I said to him, actually, I'm still so freaking nervous about these type of meetings. And I said to him, the day where I walk into this meeting room, not nervous is when that's me saying, no, I've had enough. So I feel what you mean. I get that when it comes to selection processes. So I totally understand where you're coming from in regards to knowing when is the time to step away. I'm not quite there yet in that sense, but yeah, it's a very weird emotion that we have to balance and juggle in the professional world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because they come from a place of meaning. They come from a place of something meaning a lot to you, right? Like, yeah. And so
Definitely.
I can imagine, I wish I'd been in this situation at some point in my career, but I can imagine that going to an Olympic Games as a defending gold medalist is a very different type of pressure than before you've won a gold medal. And it was actually really interesting to me to hear you talk earlier about how you didn't feel like you were going back to back because there were so many different elements in the team. But I'm curious about the pressure that you felt individually or that you felt or talked about as a team going in as potentially the favorites or at least as the defending champions. Was there a different kind of pressure? Did the fact that you had different elements in the team take away from the pressure or make it bigger? Like, how did you guys deal with that, both as a team and you personally?
It's a very interesting question because individually, going into the Olympic Games, I had never felt so confident in any sevens tournament before. So
Well,
I wasn't even thinking about the fact that we were, defending champions. I wasn't even thinking about other teams in regards to what they were doing. Um, all I wanted was our team to do the best that they possibly could and to go into the Olympic Games in Paris with no fear. We are also that type of team that thrive off atmosphere. We play so well in front of crowds. And so having family and friends in Paris, we had so many Kiwis in the crowd for us. It was so cool. We're the type of people that just really use that energy to our advantage. And so we weren't really thinking about the back-to-back champions or defending our title or whatever. Like it was just another tournament for us to play really well at. And we wanted to go into the tournament and play every game dominantly and just be in control of every game and absolutely smash everyone. And that's the nature of our game. That is literally the nature of our game, is wanting to go out and hurt people. And we did that quite well, I think. We're just a bunch of really stubborn people that don't want to lose. And so we didn't want to get too caught up on being back to back champions. We knew we wanted to create history. That was definitely one of our missions and one of our visions of this season, was to create history. But we are also the type of team that just wants to inspire so many people and want to be the greatest team in the world, and however that looks. So the fact that we did that in Paris without actually thinking about the pressure of being back to back champions, we did that really, really well. So yeah, like again, like it just feels really weird. It's hard to believe that we are back to back. It just feels like we won the Olympic Games again. That's kind of how I look at it as.
that's pretty special. That's pretty special that you are able to maintain that and live it. It's almost like denying reality for the benefit of performance or something like that. I think that's pretty
Totally.
incredible. And from the outside and knowing a few of you guys in the team, the culture within the team looks just incredible. It looks unique. It looks special. I mean, the content that comes out on social media around the way that you celebrate each other's milestones, with the Waiatas, with the hakas, like all this sort of stuff. Like it looks very, very special. Has that been an intentional process of building the culture? Is it just a combination of great people and it's there naturally? Like how does that come about?
With about 8 years of work, it takes a long time to, uh, I guess, to find a culture that suits your environment. Um, the thing about rugby is that rugby is such an inviting sport where you can be of any shape, size, ethnicity, religion, culture, or whatever, and you come together and play this beautiful sport. And so we are a team full of completely different people, so diverse, whether you're from Invercargill, Samoan, a little bit of Chinese, dairy farmers, like we have so many different people in our environment. And so we like to use those cultures and use those different personalities to then create one whole culture in our team that is fitting to for all of us to be all in on. Yeah, we have our waitas and our hakas where we celebrate everyone or we sing together as a team. And that's just to create a unity in our team. Create a type of love where you have each other's back because we go out onto the rugby field and we want to beat our own teammates, but also support them and uplift them at the same time. So it is a little bit of a weird environment in that sense. So having a strong culture where we can fall back on if things don't go to plan is really important. We did a lot of work in pre-season with, I can't remember his last name, but his first name is Christian. And I think he's with NZRU or High Performance Sport in some way, shape, or form. And he helped us sculpt our culture in July last year. And he challenged us by saying, you guys need a culture where if you come second, it's okay. And then a couple of us old girls, including myself, said, why would we want to be in an environment where coming second is okay? We want to be in an environment where we have that culture, but it's a type of culture where we love each other, but we want to win and we'll do anything in our power for that to happen. So we have our challenges in the environment. We have people who have different opinions to whatever, but we have an environment where we open that to everyone to have a voice and to have an opinion, but to also express their values growing up, whether it's expressing that in waitas or karakias, whatever it is. So yeah, it takes a lot of work, but at the end of the day, we have a culture where we love each other dearly and we will always support each other and have each other's back, no matter the situation or the result.
Yeah, nice. And there are a group of ladies in the team who have been through at least two, some three Olympics. And rugby being a violent sport, being really hard on the body, you'd have to think that there might be a generation who are starting to be on the way out. Do you feel like, given your success and given your popularity in New Zealand, do you feel like there's a really good machine, I think is sort of a crude way of putting it, but like, do you feel like there are good generations coming up that are going to replace the likes of you and Sarah and Portia who've really, taken rugby to such a high level in the world?
If you asked me that 2 or 3 years ago, I would have said no. The challenge that we have here in Sevens in New Zealand is that we have a lot of school programs, which is great. We have obviously Condors that happens at the end of the year for school nationals, high school nationals. We have, under 18 representatives as well. However, what we're missing is that in between program or standard level. I don't know what word you want to use, but we used to have nationals and regionals every year where, you represent your region at the beginning of the year at nationals. And that was where most Sevens players were spotted or were scouted. Nowadays, they are scouted from school. And unless you are just an absolute unique human being like Georgia Miller, bringing in schoolgirls in our environment is great. It's great for our game. It's great for our future. But it's extremely difficult bringing in a high school girl to a full-time professional environment and expecting them to understand what it means to be a Black Fern Sevens player. So we do have a few girls in the background that are working really, really hard. However, there is that challenge of 15s that we're competing against. They can go and play Whare Palmer. They can go play Super Rugby O-Picky at the beginning of the year. And so we have that challenge of girls who want to play sevens but are not quite there. They have to go and play 15s. They get better at 15s, so then they get snatched up by 15s. And so we miss that talent. And so it's a matter of having programs in place where we can have obviously those schoolgirls be spotted, but also the in-betweeners who love sevens but aren't quite ready for our environment, who can go and play elsewhere. Um, so it's a work in progress. We've got a lot of great people in the background who are making that better, who are constantly looking out for talent to bring them in our environment. So come 2028 and even 2032, that's my math, so yep. We're going to have a lot of really incredibly talented women in our squad that can 100% put their hand up and make them the next best sevens players. I don't think anyone's going to replace me or Portia or Sarah or like no one's going to replace us in that sense. It's about making them feel their own unique self and want to be the best version of themselves rather than replacing someone in the past. We want everyone to feel like they belong. That's extremely important. So yeah, it's not about bringing up the next Porsche woman. It's about bringing up the next XYZ ABC, because we want everyone to feel like they can be themselves in in our environment.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. And I feel like if you're completely trying to model yourself off someone else, you lose a bit of that authenticity X factor. Like you're not being fully yourself.
Absolutely. And I experienced that personally pre Rio when I was going through a phase of trying to figure out where I fit in the team. But then I was told that I was obviously mainly playing winger, but I was also kind of trialing as strike prop, which is not much different to be honest. You're just in scrums and lineouts. And I was told that I needed to be like Portia Woodman. And so instantly I was like, oh, okay, so being me is not good enough.
Mm.
And so it's the worst type of feedback that you can give a player or an athlete is that you need to be like this person because who you are is not good enough or what you're doing is not good enough. It sucks. So yeah, we want everyone to feel like they can come into the environment and bring their own unique self, bring their own strengths. Obviously, the older girls will help along the way, but we're not there to make you mold into us. We're there to help you mold into you and become the best version of yourself, while representing your country in a beautiful game.
I love that. Okay, I want to switch gears a little bit. I have always heard that it's a bad idea to meet your heroes. Um, I've got a feeling that you don't think that theory is true at all because in Paris you
Wrong.
met one of your idols, Shelley-Ann Fraser-Pryce. Talk me through it. Well, firstly, where did your love of her start?
Probably would have started around the age of 10, when I was very competitive with my athletics. Uh, Not in regards to like, I wasn't playing internationally, obviously. I was just representing my club and Taranaki every now and then. But yeah, she's an absolute superstar, and so I guess I related to her a little bit more than other athletes. One, because I mean, you always got to look up to the winner, but she's a very small human being, and so being a short person, I always, when it came to sport, I always wanted to take advantage of my stature by being fast because I'm not the tallest of people. So being fast was my superpower. And so when I saw her compete, I was like, wow, she's tiny and extremely fast. So why can't I be like her? So yeah, she's just an absolute household name in the world of athletics. And I never ever thought in my entire life that I'd ever get the opportunity to walk past her, let alone meet her. So yeah, that's why Shelley. This is Shelley. She's named after Shelley-Ann. She's just an incredible human being that made my Olympic campaign. So no, I was extremely grateful to meet her and get to know her a little bit better.
Yeah, so it was so funny and so heartwarming watching it from the outside. So from what I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, she started following you on social media, or you did something on Instagram about like hoping you'd meet Shelley-Ann. She started following you. Can you just tell me how it all happened?
Yeah, so to be honest, I wasn't actually following her on Instagram. I get a little bit funny about following like high status people because I'm like, um, I don't know. I feel I usually will only follow like my friends or people that I have a connection with or brands or whatever on social media. So I wasn't even following her in the first place, but we saw her in the food hall and I'd literally just caught her eye and just looked away straight away and then started crying and Gossie recorded me while I was crying. And so that's why thought it was hilarious. She thought it was funny as, and so I was like, yo, I'll post it as well. And it just went through the roof viral. I couldn't believe it. I woke up the next morning like, what the bloody hell is going on here? My phone was blowing up. Um, and then, yeah, the next day she obviously saw it, commented on it, because a lot of people just tagged her obviously and said like you need to go and just say hi to her, she's a lovely person, but there was no way I was going to go up to anyone at the Olympic Village and ask for a selfie or anything. Like I'm far too shy to do that. But yeah, she followed me on Instagram, then she messaged me and I was just like, what the heck, like it was too much, it was way too much at one time, I just couldn't get over it. And then yeah, she that day that she messaged me, she just happened to have been walking past our team building, and Tyler and Stacey saw her, and so ran up to her and was like, "Oh my god, hi!" And then Shelley said, "Oh, do you know who Michaela is?" And they said, "Yes, she's our teammate." But at the time, I was getting a massage when they met her, so Tyler FaceTimed me. And one of our protocols in the team is if you're getting treatment or a massage, you're not allowed your phone on the table. It's just a courtesy thing. And so my phone was just going off, and so I asked my massage guy, I was like, "Sorry, bro, like, can you just grab my phone? I'll turn it off." And it was Tyler FaceTiming me, and I was like, for Tyler to ring me, it's actually really important. And so I answered it, and it was Shelley-Ann Fraser-Pryce, and I lost it. And so I jumped off the massage table, ran down the stairs, ran out to the road, and yeah, that's when the video you see me run around the corner in bare feet and just run up to her like a little kid. But yeah, she's such an incredible human being. She's so kind. She said that the video of me um, crying in the food hall, like, and meeting me and stuff, like, made her Olympic campaign. And I was just like, oh my God, like, you're my best friend. I was a blubbering mess. Like, oh, she's got no idea. But you know what? The lesson that I 100% learnt from it was um, a lot of people in New Zealand love rugby, right? They love rugby and they love, watching the Black Jersey, whoever it is, or any Super Rugby team or FPC or whatever. Um, and so a lot of people said in that video, either messaged or commented saying, that's how we feel when we meet you. And I was like, no, no, you don't. Like, you don't feel like this. This is different. Because I look at Shelley-Ann and she's just like an absolute universal household name. I just play for the Blackfern Sevens. I'm just a, classic Kiwi kid that loves playing rugby. And so when people were saying that, I was like, no, okay, like I don't believe you, but whatever. But yeah, it was a great lesson that what we do could be very minuscule, but it is massive to other people's life, whether it is to go and say hi, to sign an autograph, to take a selfie. To them, that's massive. That's a very, very, very small effort from us. So it was a great reminder that even the biggest of household names in the world of sport will make time for people, to make them feel inspired or motivated to be better athletes. And that's what Shelley-Ann did for me at the Olympics, especially when she came and watched us. So no, very, very grateful. We'll never forget it. We'll always talk about it, that's for sure. Because it was just something that, yeah, it's a pinch me moment. She hasn't seen my messages for a little bit yet, but I'll just wait. It's okay. I'll stay patient. She'll open them when she wants to. So yeah, that's where Shelley was born. That's when Shelley came to life.
And she's beautiful. And I mean, look,
Yes.
you can never take away that moment. Like that moment that meant so much to you and obviously meant so much to her. Like that's a lifetime memory, right? That's one of those things that you'll cherish
Mm,
for the rest of your life. And I think
absolutely.
it
Yeah.
is
She
such a
just
beautiful reminder of the responsibilities that come along with being an athlete playing for your country, right? It's like that the interactions that we have with everyone could be like a could be an inspirational moment and trying to treat everyone like that, like trying to put our best self out there and try and make as many of those moments for people as possible.
definitely, yeah, it's a good reminder that we don't just, obviously, I'll always sign a contract because I love playing rugby and I love representing my country. But the other natural part of our job is inspiring that next generation to want to be just like us. So there are days where we're like, oh, like, leave me alone. But then there are days where you've just got to send that message or send that video because you just never know who it will inspire. So yeah, it's a very crucial part of our job that we have to definitely remind ourselves every day. It's a very important part of representing our country in rugby.
Michaela, it's as we're recording 2 or 3 weeks after the Olympics, in the general public's eye, it's this massive event that comes around every once in a while, and it's all that the world seems to talk about for a little while, and then it's done. What's next in the life of a rugby player who's just won the Olympics? Like, do you get to have a break? What do you get to have some time down and rest and recover? And yeah, what happens now?
So at the moment we're on leave. We get 6 weeks as a squad, but for me personally, I'm going to take a little bit longer. It's been a long 12 years of being a professional athlete, but it's been a very massive 13 months of rugby. We played so many tournaments, which is great. Like we love it. But after the Olympics and when we received our medal, I said to Michael, like I don't want to do this anymore. Like I was just so exhausted mentally and emotionally. Physically, I felt great. Like this is going to probably come across a little bit arrogant, but it was the easiest tournament. Like I'd played way harder tournaments, but that just comes down to how hard we trained to make sure that we made it as easy as possible for us. And so physically, I felt fine. But yeah, I just was so mentally and emotionally exhausted because I put so much energy, time, and effort into this one goal. So now that it's done, it's a huge feeling of relief, massive,
Mm,
massive weight off our shoulders. Um, but now it's inspired a few of our girls to train harder because we had girls that missed out. We can't forget that. We had girls that had to stay at home. We had a 13th and 14th and 15th travelling reserve. So those girls have got an even bigger motivation or even bigger fire in their belly to be better. So we've got a mixture of different emotions in our team right now. But for now, for me personally, I'm having a break. I'm going to stay as present as possible with my fiance, see my family as much as I can, and just enjoy being on holiday. Because when I'm back in the environment, whenever that may be, I'm all in 100%. So I don't want to go into the environment feeling like I didn't have a proper break. Um, and if I go in feeling extremely unfit and put on a few kilos, all good. We'll train it off. It's fine. So yeah, we'll just stay present, um, do as much as I can to rest my mind and body and soul, and plan a wedding because we're changing our
hell
last
yeah.
name in January next year. So that's extremely exciting as well.
January next year. Oh man, well you absolutely deserve the time off. You deserve to enjoy yourself. You've made the whole country proud again and again and
Thank you.
again. This is just the last in the line of making the country proud. And just from my side, I want to say a massive thank you for being who you are, for being an incredible role model, not just on the pitch but off the pitch. As a member of High Impact Athletes, your generosity is awe inspiring. Look at that t-shirt; it's beautiful. I mean, the combination of the t-shirt and Shelley is just world class.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. She needs to be at the top of the eye. Hang on. Let's just put that there like that.
That's actually a
There we
pretty
go.
cool design. A little gold medal at the top of
That
the
is
eye.
cool.
Amazing. But yeah, seriously, Michaela, thanks for having this chat. Thanks for being who you are and being inspirational as an athlete, but also as a human. Enjoy the break. You absolutely deserve it. I'm really happy for you and Mike, and I hope you really enjoy your big day. And we'll see you back on the rugby pitch whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Marcus. No, I can say the same about you. What you do for many, 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 many lives across the world when you don't have to is extremely impactful and inspirational. So, um, we've both got some really cool things coming up. Obviously, our wedding, but you're being a part of the IOC. So,
Thank you.
if that's what it's called, that's what it's called, eh? So yeah, massive congrats to you. But yeah, some exciting things coming up for both of us, which is cool. Yeah,
Hell yeah. All right. Thanks a lot for the chat, Michaela, and we'll
always.
speak soon.